I'm Rachel from Douentza Garden in Ireland, and today I have a job that I've not been looking forward to. I'm going to move my giant Himalayan lily. This is Cardiocrinum giganteum, and it's planted here in the border behind me. Now, it's never done particularly well. It flowered for me the first time 3 years ago, and since then a couple of spikes have broken and I've lost the flowers, and even before then. So today we're going to lift it, and I have a perfect spot elsewhere in the garden where I'm going to plant this tallest of all lilies. Now, this is a magnificent, beautiful thing if you can get the growing conditions right. So let's lift it and have a look. Okay, so I'm going back here to try and dig out my lily, and I'm hoping that there are going to be lots of offsets, but we'll see. Now, this is going to be tricky to see, so bear with me. As I head into my undergrowth to find my Himalayan lily, let me give you a little synopsis of this plant's growth cycle. It's now September, and those oblong green structures I'm holding are seed pods. They appear after flowering, so you can see that this plant flowered this year. The seed isn't yet mature. The pod must first brown and dry and will then split open, producing literally hundreds of paper-like seeds. If you sow the seed, it may take a whopping 7 years for plants to flower. We now travel down the flowering stem to the base. Cardiocrinum flowering stems die after setting seed in the same way that tulip, lily or fritillaria stems do. Plants that die after flowering are referred to as monocarpic. But just like its tulip and lily cousins, the Cardiocrinum should survive after flowering, as its basal plate will produce offset bulbs. I'm digging wide so as not to damage any side bulbils on the plant. The fact that the stem is no longer attached isn't of immediate alarm, but it is strange that I can't see any bulbs near the surface of the soil, not even the one that has just flowered. I'm not sure how many or how big these offset bulbils will be, so I'm digging wide in an attempt to lift them without damaging. And I'm carrying out a thorough comb of all of the surrounding soil. Oh dear, this has got to be the saddest tale of all. Look what I'm left with. I'm left with one stem, Cardiocrinum stem. This is where it flowered this year, and here we have the plant setting seed, which you can see here. These are the seed pods, and there's the stem. And this is the stake that I staked it with, and in the ground, this is all I have left. This is my biggest bulbil. There's a smaller one here, and there's a smaller one still. So my plant is gone, essentially it's gone. Okay, I have another Cardiocrinum down there that we're going to try and dig up to put in the same brilliant space I have for it. Okay, let's hope there's a better story down this end of the woods. This here is my Cardiocrinum, not this plant here. These are its withered leaves. These are the flowering stems from when this clump last flowered. It's time to dig this clump up and see what we've got. This position is actually a good one because Cardiocrinum like moist, well-drained, humus-rich soil and dapple shade. The reason why I'm moving it is that I can never see my lily enough when it's in bloom, and what on earth is the point in that? Yay! This time we have a good clump of bulbils. Okay, Right, well this is a bit of a better result. I do wonder what growing condition wasn't met with the last plant that it produced so few offsets. The next step here is to cut off the leaves and shake off the excess soil so that I can divide the bulbils. I've read that if you don't regularly divide your Himalayan lilies, the clumps get very congested and the bulbs don't have enough room to send up successful spikes. And actually, I've had a bit of that going on, with spikes breaking before they get into flower properly, like this one I'm showing you here, which broke this year. It's always heart-rending. Now I can start removing these small bulbils from the side of the clump. I do my very best to untangle roots rather than tear them. It takes some time to worry the soil off the roots so that I can do the least damage possible. This bulb seems to be the biggest one, so I'm dividing it carefully from its neighbour. With a bit of luck, as has happened here, your clump will produce a variety of bulbils of different sizes, and that should mean that you'll have a staggered flowering. I hope that these two big bulbs will flower next year, and then the medium-sized ones the year after, and so forth. And finally, my two biggest bulbs are separate. And my end result is 2 large bulbs, 4 medium-sized ones and 11 babies. So after all the jigs and the reels, this is what I'm left with. I have 16 bulbs, 4 of which are fairly decent. I don't know if they're flowering size or not. I should imagine that the very biggest one is. But there is a slight bit of rotting on them. Now, if I had some sulphur, I might douse some of these in sulphur. This one in particular has some rotty bits, which I don't understand because it's been a really, really dry summer. But I am going to replant them now with the tip near the surface, and hopefully they'll get going. It's a pity that the biggest one is the one with the rotty problems. But okay, let's go and deal with them now. The 2 biggest bulbs have a little rot on the tips of their outer scales, so I'm cutting that off. I've no idea why this happened because it's been such a very dry summer. This area of dappled shade is where I've chosen to replant my Cardiocrinums. Anyone who's followed the garden may recall that there was a very large yucca here until recently, but now it's been removed. I dig some deep holes which I'll backfill with compost. My soil is drier than I'd like because of this year's drought, so I'll give the plants plenty of compost. The bulbs need to be planted near the surface of the soil, and I'm placing a variety of sizes in each hole. This is to give me the best chance of a staggered flowering over a number of years if all goes well. I backfill the hole with a mixture of compost, perlite and my own soil. Hopefully, over time, this area will be home to many Cardiocrinum spikes. The flowers really are spectacular and unusual, and they have a gloriously sweet but spicy scent. Just watch out for lily beetles, however, as those little blighters are as partial to Cardiocrinums as they are to regular lilies. For the smaller bulbils, I raise their level slightly so they're planted nearer the surface. Finally, I'm marking the whole area where my Himalayan lilies are planted so that I don't disturb them by mistake, which is very easily done. And there we go, we've marked the spot. I'm not going to forget to water these in. Well, going to do that now and hope for the best for next year. So if you're thinking of dividing your Cardicrinum, I do hope that you have better luck than I did with the first one. But there was enough there for the second one that hopefully I'll get some good stuff, some flowers next year. Fingers crossed. Thanks for watching as always, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye!